Are you tired of running the same loadouts? Every lobby is starting to feel the same. The CI-19 and the SMG-45 have taken over, and all the pro players will tell you that you need these weapons to win. But what if I told you some of the best weapons in the game are the ones you scroll past every day? To most people, these weapons are paperweights left to gather dust. But in reality, these are secret powerhouses that are waiting for players to unlock their true potential. Today, we're gonna shatter the meta and show off the real power of the 5 least picked weapons in Delta Force. First on the list is gonna be the Uzi SMG. At the time of making this video, the Uzi sits with a 0.8% pick rate, the lowest of all the SMGs in the game. And I couldn't tell you why. The damage range only goes up to 20 meters with the Echo Suppressor, but the Uzi can easily compete with the SMG-45 any day of the week. With the right attachments, this SMG is a laser, and it can easily melt enemies with its firing rate of 780 RPM. And with a time to kill of 0.3 seconds to the body and 0.2 seconds to the head, the Uzi can take out enemies quicker than the SMG-45 within the max damage range. This build that I used in a recent livestream utilizes the Bastion Compensator and the X25U foregrip to minimize recoil as much as possible, a laser for tag stancing, an extended mag to shoot more bullets, and the skeleton sniper stock to keep the handling and stability as high as possible to dominate in close quarters combat. This build is calibrated to have an extra 9% muzzle velocity, 1.5% firing stability, 1.4% ADS movement speed, 10% control, and 4% movement stability, bringing the vertical and horizontal multipliers down to 0.62 and 0.41, and the firing stability down to 0.94. The ADS speed is up to 330 milliseconds, the sprint to fire time is up to 126 milliseconds, and the ADS movement speed is down to 2.73 meters per second, which is slow, but it's still a lot faster than the majority of SMG-45 builds in the game. The breath sway range is brought down to 0.27, making this SMG very ideal in close quarters situations, and the whole breath duration is up to 34 seconds if you really want to challenge enemies from further away. And with the lens firing stability down to 0.28, you can challenge medium to long range opponents pretty easily. While this SMG lacks range, it's insanely satisfying to push into a room and delete enemies with a barrage of bullets. Next up is the M700 Sniper Rifle. This weapon has been left for dead by players, sitting at a 0.5% pick rate. Without attachments, the M700 has the lowest damage and damage range, and it shares the lowest muzzle velocity with the R93. But with the right attachments, it still has the second lowest damage range, firing rate, and the slowest muzzle velocity. But this sniper rifle isn't meant to beam enemies that are 400 meters away like the AWM or the SV98. The M700 shows its true potential within 200 meters. This build uses the advanced frame system, the Stratosphere long barrel, the Phantom rear grip, and the Resonant Suppressor. And I have this build calibrated to have an extra 9% muzzle velocity, 4% firing stability, 2% extra control, 7% movement stability, and +1 pupillary distance, bringing the vertical and horizontal multipliers down to 0.83, not that it really matters. And the firing stability multiplier is at 0.9. This is the fastest sniper in the game when fully built, with the ADS speed sitting at 408 milliseconds, and the sprint to fire speed sitting at 262 milliseconds. The whole breath duration is sitting at nearly 38 seconds, so you can spend plenty of time lining up your shots on unsuspecting enemies. With the overall stability being as good as it is, you can find the right spot and easily take out enemies with some proper precision, even leaving enemy snipers afraid to peek. The third weapon on this list is going to be the Vityaz SMG. The Vityaz has a laughably low pick rate. As of right now, currently nobody uses this SMG, but that doesn't mean this is a bad weapon. In my opinion, it's the exact opposite. The Vityaz is a short-range beast, just like the Uzi, and it can easily beat the SMG-45 in close-range combat. The one thing holding this SMG back is its recoil. With high stability and control attachments, it can be really easy to control the Vityaz, but because of the recoil pattern, it can also be really easy to overcorrect your aim. But besides that, I have no complaints with this SMG. The Vityaz kills insanely fast, with a time to kill of 0.3 seconds anywhere to the body and 0.2 seconds to the head, just like the Uzi. But unlike the Uzi, the damage doesn't drop off as quickly at range. This build I showed off in a previous video uses the Beaver barrel to increase muzzle velocity and damage range, the Bastion Compensator and the K1 Elite foregrip to increase horizontal recoil control, the extended mag with the mag assist, the AK skeleton grip to keep some handling, and the polymer stock with the stock pad for extra control, handling, and stability. I have this build calibrated to have an extra 9% muzzle velocity so each bullet hits as quickly as possible, 3% firing stability to see more clearly while firing, 16% extra control to make it even easier to control the horizontal recoil, and 8% movement stability so this gun isn't bouncing around while I'm moving and firing. With the horizontal multiplier sitting at 0.34, it's a lot easier to control this SMG, but it can be pretty tricky if you're trying to shoot anybody at range. The ADS speed has been brought up to 367 milliseconds, which is obviously pretty slow, but that's why I've also added a laser. With this, you can easily tag stance in a fraction of the time, turning this gun into a menace in close quarters combat. The sprint to fire delay is also at 124 milliseconds, which is still one of the fastest sprint to fire times in the game. And the standing hipfire spread is still incredibly tight, so there's plenty of room to get some easy hipfire and tag stance kills. I only have good things to say when it comes to this SMG. You can melt enemies instantly if you get consistent headshots, and it's nearly unstoppable at short range. This is the perfect weapon to use if you want to run and gun because of how quick the handling is on this SMG, and in the right hands, this SMG will make you untouchable. Fourth on this list is going to be the ASH-12 Assault Rifle. With a 0.2% pick rate at the time of making this video, this thing has practically been left in the dust by players. The ASH has pretty intense recoil, slow handling, and pretty terrible hipfire accuracy. On paper, this thing has no redeemable factors. That's until you realize this AR can obliterate enemies in the blink of an eye. The ASH has a time to kill of 0.2 seconds to the body and 0.1 seconds to the head within this build's max damage range of 46 meters. But unfortunately, this weapon's fire rate is pretty slow, sitting at 500 RPM, so I can see why this AR is off-putting to most people. But the ASH is devastating when you can hit consistent shots. This is one of the only weapons in the game that have little to no attachments, so I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen this build somewhere else before. I'm using the Titan compensator, the K1 Elite foregrip, and the sniper stock to tame this weapon's recoil as much as possible, and I have the 30 round mag equipped so I don't get caught reloading all the time. This build is calibrated to have maximum muzzle velocity and control just like everything else on this list. It also has an extra 4.8% firing stability and 6.7% movement stability. Like I said earlier, there isn't a large variety of attachments for the ASH, so there isn't a whole lot that can be done to improve recoil control. The vertical and horizontal multipliers are sitting at 0.56 and 0.46, and the firing stability has been brought down to 0.67, so you can see as clearly as possible while firing this gun. The handling is probably the worst I've seen on any gun in this game, with the ADS speed up to 537 milliseconds and the sprint to fire time up to 290 milliseconds. But the ADS movement speed is still somewhat decent, sitting at 1.62 meters per second. The stability is as high as I could get it, with the hold breath duration up to 25 seconds. The movement stability is down to 0.69, and the lens firing stability is down to 0.65. Using the single fire mode on this AR is insanely overpowered, and I recommend you try it out, especially if the full auto recoil is too much to handle. All it takes is 2 or 3 shots to delete enemies from the battlefield. That is if you can manage to hit all of those shots though. And finally, we have the QJB-201 LMG. The pick rate for this weapon at the time of making this video is 0.1%, basically useless compared to other LMGs in this game. At first, the QJB may seem weak and sluggish, but this LMG isn't meant to lock down one sightline with a 200 round mag. It's meant to be the ultimate jack of all trades weapon, perfect for holding down or breaking the line. I'm using the short barrel, mostly for the extra handling, the Bastion compensator and secret order foregrip to increase horizontal recoil control, the 45 round mag with the mag assist to increase reload speed, handling, and overall versatility in close quarters combat, the heavy grip for some extra control and stability, and the MRGS skeleton stock to increase the handling and stability even more. This build is calibrated to have maximum muzzle velocity, 8% control, 0.16% ADS movement speed, 5% firing stability, and 3.5% movement stability, bringing the overall vertical and horizontal recoil multipliers down to 0.72 and 0.32, with the firing stability multiplier sitting at 0.92. The ADS speed is sitting at 367 milliseconds, and the sprint to fire time is sitting at 189 milliseconds, which is incredibly fast for any weapon, let alone an LMG. The ADS movement speed is up to 1.84 meters per second, the reload speed is down to 2.75 seconds, and the empty mag reload speed is at 3.63 seconds. And somehow, I managed to keep the accuracy at its base values, so you could easily hip fire without many issues. The TTK for the QJB is sitting at 0.4 seconds when you shoot at the legs, 0.3 seconds while shooting at the chest or arms, and 0.1 seconds while shooting at the head within the max damage range of 40 meters. This QJB build is a true multi-tool. You can hold critical angles with other teammates that are running LMGs, you can run and gun with the rest of the sweats on your team, or you can do anything in between. This LMG truly has no limits when it comes to what it can do. But there you have it, the 5 least used weapons in Delta Force. Weapon metas are like a cage these days, and people get so obsessed with the first thing that they see that they forget to dive deeper to find something better. But I want to hear from you. What are your favorite unpopular weapons to use in Delta Force? Drop your builds down below. And if you enjoyed exploring the best off-meta weapons, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on what I'll uncover next.